It's always a good idea if we can even slightly unsettle even Renuka. Yeah. Our Finance Minister, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to welcome you all to the inaugural of our CII annual session. We're privileged to have ambassadors from many countries present. Welcome, Excellencies. And we have a room full of CII stalwarts present. There are several photographs outside that constitute a fairly amazing rogues gallery. I use that term because I'm about to join them. And welcome all of you. Thank you for being here. It is a great personal pleasure to have our Finance Minister with us. No one does more than him to steer our economy. He can take personal credit for many achievements of the last 3 years, none more than GST on its way to successful implementation. We look forward to the benefits flowing very soon from this vital and long-awaited tax reform. CII has been proud to share many platforms with him in India and around the world, and I may say I personally have been proud to share many platforms with him in India and around the world. The Finance Minister has also inspired us in CII to do more, to take the right stand on issues, encouraging us at times to even take a contrary position to official policy as a way of reaching a better policy outcome. Speaking personally, I've always come away from every interaction with greater insight and understanding on subjects that have ranged from the comparative advantage of Andhra Pradesh or Madhya Pradesh to the history of Jharkhand and even to cricket. Please join me in specially welcoming the Finance Minister for being with us today. I've had a wonderful year as President of CII. I've enjoyed almost everything. As I look back on the year, I'd like today to reflect on the present and future of Indian industry, and indeed the future of our country. India has the unique opportunity to lead the world, but for this to happen, we all have much to do. In particular, Indian industry has much to do. Today is a great occasion to take up these points, especially in the presence of the Finance Minister and with all of you present. CII's work spreads far and wide. We do so many things that it is often confusing even to those quite close to it. We work with the government in many ways, across ministries and across all states. We seek to support the government in its economic agenda with a clear industry position. For example, on GST, we've argued that 4 rates are a practical way to get on with implementing GST in a fair and revenue-neutral way. But we have serious concern that individual state registration processes and border inspections considerably dilutes the benefits the country will get from GST. Third, we hold that invoice value must be the sole basis of valuing goods, as any other basis leads to discretion. And fourth, clauses like the non-profiteering clause in the GST law are, we think, a throwback to the, if I may say so, the throwback to the bad old days of Indira Gandhi and price controls, which didn't work then and won't work now. We will continue to push for these improvements as GST gets implemented and states gain in confidence as they see the revenue buoyancy that results. Further on policy, we stand for 3 things. First, on trade policy, we stand in general for openness and free markets. This has been CII's stand consistently over the decades. And Minister, it was very good to see the widespread coverage of your visit to the US just last week, championing, actually earlier this week, championing the cause of free trade. Second, we have defined an Indian firm as one which operates in and manufactures in India, regardless of whether it is foreign or Indian owned, including in public procurement and in our defense industry. Third, and most importantly, we've argued that industry should not seek incentives and concessions. In talking to all industry, including MSMEs, the message is clear. Our firms do not want concessions. They want an easy business environment. Finance Minister, in our pre-budget submission this year, we came to you with clear recommendations that would build the future success of Indian industry. All our recommendations carried no revenue impact or even a positive revenue impact. Even our request for corporate tax reduction was accompanied by a removal of all incentives and concessions. I am proud to say that CII members recognize what is good in the long run for the country and that they have been most receptive and supportive of this stand. In our pre-budget discussions with the Finance Ministry, I was proud that CII stood out and did not ask for any concessions. I hope this becomes more the norm for Indian industry in general. But I can assure you, Finance Minister, of CII standing for what is right for India and for Indian industry in the long run. As a sometime academic, I used to study development. And this year has been a great opportunity for learning of our development challenges and opportunities. As we met our members and the respective state governments around the country, I had the opportunity to see how some states have moved ahead while others have been left behind. In the east of the country in particular, there is much we must do across all the states of the east, as this is too big a region to be left behind. There is a need for investment, for a focus on the basics of development, a focus on the true comparative advantages of each state, whether it comes from natural resources or from human capital. This has to be a joint agenda-building task for us in CII and each state government. Mr. Finance Minister, in all our state investment summits, you have spoken so articulately about the particular achievements and needs of each state. Our agenda-setting tasks would benefit greatly from your participation in this exercise. Turning to international, when we visited our neighbors in Bhutan, in Sri Lanka, in Myanmar, all our countries where the message to us was loud and clear. India is not only welcome, but actively sought. Indian industry is not only welcome, but actively sought. We have an industry too small a footprint on the ground in our neighbors. It needs to scale and quickly. Emerging markets in Southeast Asia, in the Middle East, in Latin America, in Africa, are again a big opportunity for us. On visits this last year to Iran, to Indonesia, to Vietnam, to other emerging markets, again we were uniformly welcome and seen as a benign influence to be encouraged. We must take advantage as industry of this goodwill that exists around the world. Developed markets too offer huge potential for scaling their investments in India. I think we need to address the softer side of making it easy for them to do so. We've addressed the hard side of policy, but we need to address the softer side that makes it easy for a Japanese or a Singaporean to live in housing they find comfortable and eat the food that they like. I believe India can lead the world. First, this starts with our economic performance. India has been one of the world's 10 best performing economies in the last 25 years. Even more, every projection says it will be one of the world's 10 best performing economies in the next 25 years. But can we lead the world? We have serious competition. As the US steps back from global leadership, we know that China aspires to take its place. But I think we are much better placed for this leadership role in India. We are a noisy democracy. You just need to watch the nightly entertainment shows on our news channels for confirmation. Arnab Goswami, in a closing interview question with our finance minister, asked him what advice he would give him to improve his show. And the finance minister replied, "I'd suggest that no more than 2 people speak at once." But this noisy democracy is, I think, an unalloyed strength for us as a country. When President Xi Jinping made his claim for global leadership at his speech in Davos this year, much was made of the fact that he quoted Charles Dickens and Abraham Lincoln. But this would not be remarkable in India. Dickens and Lincoln are somehow a part of our Indian heritage. Every time I watch a new Bollywood song, I'm struck at how inclusive our culture is. We somehow take the best that the world has to offer and seamlessly integrate it all into something that is distinctly Indian. And I would add, as a result of this integration, distinctly better than anything else available. Our ability to make sense of various strands, to integrate and include, to thrive on diversity of ethnicity, community, language, this is what makes us unique. We Indians come in all shapes, sizes, and colors, and we are all Indian. So what must we do to lead the world? Many sessions at this annual meeting will explore this question, but here are some personal thoughts. First, as an economy, we have to be more inclusive. As you, Finance Minister, have often said, this means a focus on skills and education, both by industry and government, at a much greater pace. As firms, we need to have in place strong affirmative action policies with widespread implementation of our CII code. Recruiting from a country of 1.3 billion skilled people will make our firms global champions. Selling to a country of 1.3 billion consumers and not some subset will create wealth for all of Indian industry and for the world. So it's in our interest to be inclusive. Second, whoever has led the world in history has tended to be open. Open to trade and imports. Open also to immigration as the world's talent seeks to make the country its home. I can think of no other country at any point in time better placed than we are to provide the inclusion, the openness, and the liberal resilience that would lead to global leadership. Indeed, our finance minister is amongst the most articulate spokesmen for this approach. Our famous diversity and tolerance can enable us to lead the world in a manner which is distinctly liberal and distinctly Indian at the same time. I hope you will all enjoy our annual session as we explore these broad questions, and I hope you will actively participate with questions and discussion. Finance Minister, thank you again for being here, and thank you for giving me that patient hearing. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. May I now request our chief guest, Finance Minister Arun Jaitley, to give his inaugural address. Thank you.